Jackson trying to escape and run for it, and he's got it more. Lamar Jackson down the sideline. Will they give it to him? They will. Touchdown, Baltimore.
And with 1:17 left to play on Wild Card Weekend, the Hayes in the barn.
Oh my God! I wish we had a camera in here so you could see what we're doing. We're just a bunch of clowns in here.
How much fun is that?
All right, welcome back to a very special episode of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. Today, I will be flying solo dolo. So I'm your sole host, Spencer Schultz, a.k.a. Spenny Powers, your boy, here to break down this Vikings-Ravens matchup. Jakey Boy is partying down in Nolans, getting his Cajun on, as we've talked about his Cajun roots quite a few times. So wish him fun and safe travels for sure. And we got a little Friday episode going on here around 10:33. Wasn't able to record last night. I had a little issues, but yeah, we're out here grabbing rim at 10:30 on a Friday morning. You love to see it, as we've got Bailey Konecki in the comments here. So just going to talk a little ball, talk a little Odell Beckham, I guess, just because the people probably may want to hear about that, and see where the Ravens stand coming out of their bye week with the Minnesota Vikings coming to town for the first time since that insane snow game back in 2017 with Marlon Brown, and a bunch of crazy stuff happened in that game. Cordarrelle Patterson going off. A lot of fun things there. So we are breaking it down. Vikings obviously coming to town after a pretty disappointing loss against the Dallas Cowboys, where they had every opportunity to win that game. Justin Jefferson unable to see or spot or track a deep ball there. Lots of mistakes there. But yeah, let's get it started. We're going to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. a little bit, the ongoing debacle that has happened in Cleveland, where his dad reposts a video of him being open for 10 minutes and not getting the ball. And I usually hate those videos because people will make them. I recall someone made one about Miles Boykin for quite some time last year, saying Miles Boykin's always open. Miles Boykin's always open. Well, when you go watch the tape, there's certain reads, like the read might be a high-low, or it might be a smash, or something on one side of the field based on how the safeties are shaded. So like having a flanker come open, running like a clear out route minutes after, not minutes, seconds after the initial read. And you're like, okay, well, he could have thrown the ball there. Well, it's not Madden. You can't see every single receiver on the field at all times. You actually do have 5 300-plus pound offensive linemen, 4, 5, 6 defensive linemen trying to hit you. You've got a helmet with a face mask on. It's not so easy. It's not Madden, to say the least. But you go watch that video, and there were quite a few circumstances where Baker is rolling and Odell is working with him, and the ball doesn't get there, or the ball doesn't come out on time, or he underthrows him. And it's definitely been a series of unfortunate events there. And everyone's like, oh, well, drama chases Odell wherever he goes. Drama. It's a him problem. When it's not the quarterbacks, it's him. Well, when your quarterbacks are dinosaur playing very lethargic end of career Eli Manning, with the situation that happened there with quarterback, or the head coach's name is escaping my mind, who took them to the playoffs. They have the boat crap go on, which I guess you can blame on Odell, and then whatever. So, Eli Manning into Baker Mayfield. Baker not playing his best football, quarterback who struggled to anticipate and throw over the middle of the field with timing, with rhythm, an area where Odell works really well. Odell was a better slant runner than Michael Thomas when he was on the Giants. Like, he was a dominant slant runner, works over the middle of the field. Obviously, he can run the boundary and go moss somebody and make one-hand catches and whatever. But a lot of what he did was quick timing routes and after the catch and over the middle of the field, and just hasn't been the rhythm or the pace there. And people want to go point to, oh, well, look how the Browns offense performs when Odell's not on the field. Well, as most conversations, that lacks context. What defenses were they playing? When you go look at, let's say, the DVOA of the defenses that the Browns played when Odell wasn't on the field, they were all 20th or 30th, or it was one defense was in the top, I think 10 that they played last year without Odell in the field when he was injured. So a little bit of an overreaction there. They did wall up the Steelers, who did have a good defense last year, but after some injuries there, they had some issues after Devin Bush went down and everything that happened in Pittsburgh. So, has Odell been great? No, he hasn't been great. He definitely hasn't been, outstanding or elite or anything like that. Has Baker Mayfield been good? Not really. He's, had a strong running game. He was efficient last year. He's struggled a ton this year to be accurate, things of that nature. So, a lot of people want him to go to Baltimore. My 2 cents on that is, Miles Boykin's a great special teamer, but I'd probably rather have Odell Beckham if someone gets hurt and I want someone running routes. It's probably going to be Odell Beckham. Worked with Rashad Bateman in the offseason. If he wants to play for 500, a vet minimum, then sure, why not? I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? If you value special teams over that, then I'm not I guess I get it, but the Ravens probably stand pat. They, picked up Cedric Abouye, and that seemed like their big addition at the trade deadline, or the addition at the trade deadline. They're going to get some guys back healthy. So if they don't want to tamper with anything, that's fine. I do think going to Green Bay would be better. I do think going to Las Vegas would be better. I do think even maybe the Saints, even though they have a kind of defunct quarterback situation right now, a team that certainly is in the midst of the early playoff hunt. So all of those things would make sense. I do still think Odell is a capable receiver. Is he as dominant as he was early in his career? Definitely not, but he's still perfectly capable. And the comments that were made, clearly, guys like Greg Newsome and guys like Anthony Schwartz, there's the clickbait around the NFL headline that someone said that Odell Beckham never tries and he's malcontent. And all the Browns players were like, what are you talking about? He's a really hard worker, loves to work, loves to train, loves to play football, all that stuff. Is he, a little bit of a celebrity? That's not great. Colts. Yeah, the J Will 501 here. Colts would be another great option. So, Ravens might sniff around there, but I think they're kind of happy with their receiver room at this point. Again, like I said, Miles Boykin, not as good of a receiver as Odell Beckham, but Boykin can do some particular things that the Ravens like on special teams and in the run game or whatever. So, Patriots, Raiders, there's a ton of stuff there. So Bill Belichick has a tendency to go pick up those guys. And so I think there's quite a few options. I think a ton of teams will be looking for his services. The Ravens probably aren't going to be that team ultimately, but it wouldn't be, I think it could help, especially if, let's say Sammy Watkins comes back and ends up suffering another injury. Odell Beckham has experience. He's caught a ton of passes. He knows coverage. He knows how to separate, knows how to do those things. And I don't think that'd be a bad addition at all, but not really going to make them, it's not going to strengthen their weaknesses much. So whatever, that's my take on Odell Beckham. Not the end of the world either way. I think it would be a fun clickbaity thing to happen, but I see him going somewhere else most likely. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, team coming to town that, has a losing record. Mike Zimmer, a coach that is well respected as a, defensive mastermind, X's and O's wise, a guy that I have a lot of respect for as a coach. I think he's always, carried a big stick and sometimes spoken softly, sometimes spoken loudly. I think he rules with an iron fist a bit and has an interesting offense. It is, as I've referred to on this podcast before, the offense. I've talked about the Browns. I've talked about, and for those of you who are listening, not watching, I used air quotes on the offense because it is the classic wide zone boot offense. And Kirk Cousins at quarterback, outstanding passer rating, PFF grades, stats, all of that good stuff. I can rattle off a couple stats here that I found interesting on Mr. Cousins. Only taken 10 sacks on the year so far, which makes sense considering that he gets the ball out in 2.48 seconds on average, which is the third quickest in the NFL. Him and Lamar Jackson are the most polar opposite quarterbacks that can exist. Lamar Jackson, in that same vein, gets the ball out after 3.17 seconds, which is the slowest time to get the ball out in the NFL. Kirk Cousins' average distance of target is not very high. Lamar Jackson's leads the NFL. So Kirk Cousins only attempts throws that are 20 plus air yards on 9.5% of his passes. So deep passes, only 1 out of every 10 essentially is 20 plus air yards. That is 27th among 28 qualified quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson ranks first with 17.3% of his passes. So if they throw, 20 passes in a game, 30 passes in a game, Lamar is going to throw 3, 4 that are 20 plus yards. Kirk is going to throw 1 or 2. So not a ton there. Kirk will throw maybe 2 or 3. So not stylistically couldn't be much further apart. Kirk Cousins has only completed 12 passes over 20 air yards so far. He's only taken 15 quarterback hits. Kirk has also only made 2 quote-unquote big-time throws, according to PFF, when he is under pressure. He has a 59 PFF grade when pressured, which is one of the lowest in the NFL. When he doesn't, he is one of the highest-rated passers in the NFL. He annihilates the blitz when the blitz doesn't get home. So the classic fan quandary that's been going, or quandary, qualm, whatever you want to call it with a Q, that has been going on over the last couple of months with Wink Martindale shouldn't be blitzing and yada, yada, yada. That stuff has come to a head, it feels like, within the talking points in the Baltimore area. And I think the counter there for the Ravens is, especially teams have started showing split back. We saw the Bengals do that a ton when the Ravens gave pressure looks. And when teams go split back, they are going to block it up. And the Ravens need to be able to check out of blitzes when teams go split back. It is not going to work. When they have 7, they are blocking it up. You should drop, quick zone drop, make Kirk Cousins hold the ball. If you can, he is maybe the least athletic quarterback in the NFL, including guys like Tom Brady. So not a lot happens in that sense. The guys that he throws to, a little bit surprised to see that Thielen and Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, are spending 69 and 76% of their time as boundary receivers this year. They're using D.D. Westbrook and KJ Osborne, who has had a nice under-the-radar year. I think D.D. Westbrook's gotten more run lately since he's been healthy and able to make addition to this team. But they've been working out of the slot at 75 and 59% of their work. And Jefferson has 6 of the Vikings' 14 drops and has only caught 4 out of 11 contested catches this year, while Adam Thielen has caught 11 out of 12 contested catches. Something that Adam Thielen does so well, in addition to several other things, is he shows hands late. He will run a route and be side-eyeing a ball. He does not, especially in man coverage, he gives defenders no clue that the ball is about to arrive. He doesn't, get those wide eyes and start raising his hands up. He runs, tries to pace himself to run to the catch point and flash his hands super late and catch kind of closer to his body. He is a great hands catcher, but also body catcher too. He's able to kind of secure the ball using his body really effectively. Great tracker. Would ultimately think that Anthony Averett is going to end up on him a lot of the time. Tweeted out some things on Anthony Averett. Even after the bye, he is still leading the NFL in defensive targets at 59, which is 8 more than any other defender in the entire NFL. He's actually 6th in Sports Info Solutions total points saved among all coverage defenders. He is 4th among cornerbacks there. So AA has had a really strong year and love to see it. And Marlon Humphrey is actually 18th in targets among cornerbacks. So he's been getting thrown at quite a bit there. Anthony Averett has more interceptions with 2 than touchdowns allowed. And he also has 7 pass breakups, which is tied for 4th in the NFL. So Anthony Averett has done a really, really nice job filling in for Marcus Peters about as well as you could have asked. Has he had a couple moments where, Michael Pittman takes advantage of it? Sure. It's the NFL. You're playing cornerback. This is like, then tell me you don't watch other football without telling me you don't watch other football. Cornerbacks let up plays. 1 or 2 guys in a given year won't let up that many plays. Like last year, Xavier Howard was really dominant, or Jalen Ramsey will have a really dominant year. Marlon Humphreys had a dominant year before. Trey White has had dominant years. Marshawn Lattimore has had dominant years. But there's like less than a handful of corners that don't let up plays at some point during a 16 and now a 17 game season. So it happens ultimately. But yeah, the Vikings don't utilize play action very often. They're towards the, back of the pack a little bit. 23% of their play action, or 23% of their dropbacks have been play action. And Kirk Cousins has thrown 14 touchdowns, 2 picks. Both of them were on play action. Interceptions are very inconsistent with why they occur, especially for a guy like Cousins who very rarely throws them. But he hasn't thrown a pick that wasn't from play action. He is the highest graded intermediate passer, meaning 10 to 19 yards in the NFL from PFF with a 98.2 grade. The next highest is 95.1. So Kirk has been shredding guys over the middle of the field, especially when you look at his throw chart or his heat map, whatever you want to call it. A lot of it is between the hashes, between the numbers, which was a little bit surprising. So definitely a quick timing offense that wants to throw a lot of in-breakers. Can Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen beat you down the sideline? For sure. Tyler Conklin, the tight end, has been a nice addition. Vikings are without Irv Smith Jr., who I was completely ready to fire up in every fantasy format. I thought he was going to have a huge breakout year this year, a guy you could get in like the 6th or 7th round and end up being a solid tight end one, but he's out for the year. So Tyler Conklin has filled in admirably. He has a little bit of a similar skill set to CJ Uzomah, I would say. In terms of the kind of pass concepts, like I said, a lot of it is short, quick stuff. A lot of it is in breakers. They will throw screens. They haven't been super dynamic breaking tackles. So I'm interested to see how this Ravens team can fight their tackling issues. Like Wink Martindale said, a lot of it is trying to go run and take guys' heads off. Wink has kind of made some contrasting or clashing comments about the tackling in the last couple of weeks, which is a little surprising, but I agree with what he said there, and he knows better than me, of course, 10 billion times over. But a couple of weeks ago, he said that they, need to run to the football. They need to play faster. But it's felt like whenever they've had issues, it's because they're playing too fast. They're playing out of control. They're allowing cutback lanes. Their eyes, their feet, their hips, their shoulders are not, able to pivot and roll back and things of that nature. They've also, had some trouble at linebacker. Patrick Queen had some pretty poor moments early in the season, and Josh Bynes comes in, settles things a bit. Patrick Queen's playing a little bit cleaner. He's not the one who's calling the front anymore and communicating with the front and the ends on who's going to pinch and who's going to, kick wide and all that good stuff. That's Bynes, the veteran, which he's done time and time again. So it's a little more second nature for him. But after the catch, Vikings have only forced 20 missed tackles this year, which I think is 21st in the NFL. Jefferson and Thielen have forced 5 and 3 respectively. So that's 8 of those 20. And then Madison and Cook have forced 10 out of the 20. So those are their dudes. The other guys, Osborne, Westbrook, Conklin, the other factors in the passing game, not very dynamic runners after the catch, but Dalvin Cook obviously is. And Dalvin Cook is a classic zone back. He's a one-cut back. He's got good vision. The Vikings are going to be without their starting center, Garrett Bradbury, who tested positive for COVID, I believe. He's on the COVID-19 list now. So they're going to be without him. He has not been very effective. I will never understand why they didn't draft Eric McCoy out of Texas A&M instead of him. Garrett Bradbury got some cool nickname, the Grim Reacher, for reach blocks, and was supposed to be a really great zone fit. I have not quite seen that. So Eric McCoy would have been a better option there to me. So not a devastating loss, but definitely going to mess things up in terms of continuity. They also have Christian Darrisaw, a prospect I was really high on coming out of Virginia Tech, who has played a couple weeks. He, similar to Rashad Bateman, suffered a groin injury and just started playing 2 weeks ago. So a couple games there. I think Randy Gregory really gave him a welcome to the NFL moment or game last week. Took advantage of him quite a few times. So Justin Houston, probably going to be able to take advantage of him a little bit. Houston's been really consistent, hasn't had crazy sack numbers, but he's due for a big game. He's had a couple pretty solid games and played consistently well, consistently high in like pass rush win rate and all that jazz. So I think Justin Houston definitely in line for a decent sized game there. But the Vikings offensive line has been nothing really crazy to write home about. They are an okay unit. And with Darrisaw coming in, we'll see how he's able to perform. He's definitely going to be one of the key players in this matchup. Cousins gets the ball out. Plain and simple, he'll throw the ball away. He'll do anything it takes to prevent sacks and prevent negative plays. I think that's probably his best asset as a quarterback, is mitigating loss and preventing, negative, horrible plays from happening, not turning the ball over, things of that nature. The Vikings on running concepts are, let's see here. I had it pulled up. Pardon me. So the Vikings have run, I believe, 139 of their rushing attempts are on zone scheme, and 39 of them are on 138 zone runs and 36 gap runs. So heavy zone run concept dominant team. Like I mentioned, they run quote unquote the offense. Dalvin Cook has had 8 of their 11 explosive gains of 15 or more yards and 23 of the 42 missed tackles forced, while Cook did miss a little bit of time. So Dalvin Cook, he just has gear after gear after gear, but he can also pace himself. And he is a really, he runs on an angle in these wide zones, but he is able to stay really square towards defenders and stay in neutral while he's starting to, get into second and third gear. And he just has these really precise jump cuts that go across the grain or cut against the grain, and not terrible. Like, I see some similarities to the way Lamar Jackson runs, in the way that you go left, he's cutting right. You go right, he's cutting left. He is going to go against the grain time and time again, and he can string it together really well and make guys miss. So he's going to make guys miss in this game. He is an outstanding player. So for the Ravens, I think having Derek Wolfe back right now would be huge. He is such a good zone run defender, a huge reason why the Ravens were able to hold Derrick Henry in the first 3.5 quarters of their regular season matchup. And then in the playoff matchup, while he is, coming back for his first game, he is a veteran. So if he's able to play, that would be huge. Justin Madubuike has been a really strong zone defender as well. Brandon Williams hasn't been great this year, but Calais Campbell is too. And Patrick Queen, Josh Bynes, they're without Malik Harrison now. So I assume Chris Board and Patrick Queen are going to take even more snaps, need to be on their P's and Q's, pun intended, Patrick Queen, and able to scrape across, not overrunning plays, staying square, clogging up lanes, forcing, linemen to be met at the line of scrimmage. If the Ravens can win and prevent combo blocks, and now that there's going to be a backup center and there's a rookie left tackle in there, if they're able to prevent combo blocks from reaching the second level and hitting them at the line of scrimmage and preventing Dalvin Cook from getting a runway, that will win or lose this game in one of the most important aspects. So I think it's imperative for them to be able to reach a stalemate at the line of scrimmage. If they're unable to do that, it will be a definite problem. Justin Jefferson in single coverage, probably going to happen. Marlon Humphrey, $100 million corner. Say what you want about Marlon Humphrey, but he did silence Mike Williams. Jamar Chase, obviously, and now that it's a couple weeks removed, Jamar Chase had his way with Marlon Humphrey a couple times. That slant that he caught, I think the best thing that happened in that play was that Jamar Chase knew that he was going to be able to spin and slingshot, and he did a great job staying square and using his momentum to slingshot upfield. It was just a little unlucky. Chuck Clark hesitated because Humphrey and Elliott comes flying in and takes out Humphrey's legs, and then suddenly it's a race with someone who runs 4.3. So, the Ravens' tackling problems have led to so many issues. There's the long Jonathan Taylor screen. They've let up so many touchdowns that are so long. And I think Justin Jefferson is a really dynamic player. I, drafted him in dynasty and fantasy stuff, but ultimately he's more of a kind of down the field, make you miss once, and a great route runner. He is shifty and whatever. He's not the most electric after the catch, but he certainly has the juice. So those are the two guys you just can't let yourself get out of place and out of position. Got to play square, got to keep everything in front of you, got to use the sideline to help you tackle with Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. Those are the two guys who have the juice. They also have Alexander Madison, who's a little more of a big back a little bit, but he definitely can hurt you. He hasn't had a ton of, I think he's had 3 runs of 15 yards on quite a few carries. So not the most explosive back, but he's a big back. He can definitely come in and break a couple tackles, and I think he's a really solid balanced runner to pair with Dalvin Cook. So they have a nice 1-2 punch there ultimately. But I think Adam Thielen on Anthony Averett is a matchup to watch. I think the way that the Ravens defensive front is able to handle the Vikings offensive line, and like I said, prevent combo blocks from reaching the second level is going to be imperative. And those are the 2 big matchups I'm looking at on that side of the ball. Flipping over to the other side of the ball, the Vikings defense has gotten a ton of pressure, a ton of sacks. They are overall, in terms of points saved from pass rush, they are the 10th best unit in the NFL. They've saved 53 points on the season so far, with the pass rush. I think that they've done an outstanding job so far being able to force quarterbacks to get the ball out early, but led by Danielle Hunter with 31 pressures and 6 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, pretty highly graded player. And he was able to bookend with Everson Griffin, who has 5 sacks and is a power rusher as opposed to a speed rusher a little bit more so. Everson Griffin does have some spin moves and some funk in his toolbox, but without Hunter, who is now out for the season with a pec injury, you're going to be able, if you're Baltimore, you're going to be able to shade a little bit and have a back on that side and have a tight end on that side. And if I'm the Vikings, I'm going to try to attack the other side. Absolutely. I guess we're going to see whether Tyree Phillips or Cedric Abouye are starting at right tackle. And I think that they're going to blitz. I think that they're going to send stunts. I think that they're going to key on that other end. Maybe they line up Griffin on that side and see what they can do. Other than that, Eric Kendricks, all around outstanding linebacker. Not, the most dynamic downhill filling the run linebacker, but outstanding in coverage, can run sideline to sideline, an incredible coverage linebacker, someone that can definitely match up with Mark Andrews really well and is going to be able to close some throwing windows that might appear open really quickly. Him and Fred Warner are the 2 linebackers in the NFL I think of that can really, really, really close a throwing window in their zone drops really effectively. So they're able to bait you a little bit. Kendricks and Warner, both very tall, long guys that can do some dynamic things. Kendricks has missed 8 tackles on the year. They haven't been, incredibly outstanding. They also have Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle. Michael Pierce has been injured with an elbow injury. So they kind of have the similar mindset to what the Ravens had with Michael Pierce and Brandon Williams. They got 2 nose tackles in there. Guys that have done an okay job generating pressure. Dalvin Tomlinson's got a couple sacks, 11 pressures, so not terrible. They also have Armon Watts, who's been playing pretty well in lieu of Michael Pierce while he's been out. So that Ravens interior line is definitely going to have their hands full. Ben Powers, most likely, I guess we'll see, unless they want to put a Abouye at right tackle and Phillips at left guard. But Ben Powers going to have his hands full. Bradley Bozeman going to have his hands full. Kevin Zeitler going to have his hands full. They're going to be stout and powerful between the B gaps there. It's going to be a definite dogfight. And I would like to see them try to get those guys to move and tire them out early in the game. I think the Ravens could effectively do some things there. Overall, this has been an up and down defense. They're without Patrick Peterson. Sheldon Richardson, someone they signed who's played 198 snaps as well. He hasn't really lived up to the billing. A talented player Ravens fans should be familiar with from his time in Cleveland, but hasn't been insanely good there. They also have Nick Vigil, who actually has played more snaps than Anthony Barr has by quite a bit at this point in the season. So I think Anthony Barr missed all until weeks 5, 6, and 8 are the only 3 games he's played in. So a little bit more limited, but we saw Nick Vigil, who Ravens fans should be familiar with after the Gus Johnson, he is Houdini spin move from Lamar Jackson there. We'll see how many snaps he gets in this game. But ultimately, guys that probably are going to be launched into a little bit more of a role are going to be James Lynch out of Baylor with Kenny Willix out of Michigan State. And then they have a DJ Wanham as well, who is going to have to play for Danielle Hunter. Not, really anything to write home about. I do like James Lynch a lot, a player who kind of is a little bit of a tweener, kind of like a Chris Wormley in terms of size, but has been super effective in the 40 snaps he's played. Harrison Smith, of course, is paired with Xavier Woods, who I thought the Ravens should have signed in the offseason, signed to a relatively team-friendly deal. I think it was a 1-year, $3 million deal or something of the sort, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a really nice safety pairing. Those safeties are kind of handcuffed to playing too high with Patrick Peterson out, especially because Mackenzie Alexander and Bashad Breeland and Cam Dantzler just simply have not had the speed to be able to cover over top. So obviously you don't want to play man coverage against Lamar Jackson unless you're kind of running cover 0, which he has faced more of than anyone in the NFL to this point. But you're going to see a lot of too high, a lot of cover 2, a lot of cover 4, a lot of cover 6. So, some palms, some things of that nature, trying to limit those. And then they're going to try and funnel you to the middle of the field where they have Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr, 2 big, long linebackers that can disrupt. So the name of the game there is going to be trying to run the ball to the perimeter. I do think that Cam Dantzler is a really strong run corner. So going the other way and attacking Bashad Breeland is something of interest for sure. The Ravens can run some scissors concepts and some switches and some things of that nature to see if they can't force the hand of the safeties a little bit. I think the Ravens did a good job at times like that. You see that fake screen switch to Mark Andrews a couple weeks ago. I think it was either James Prochet or Hollywood Brown comes in motion and runs a post route from the left to the right, runs a post that goes towards the middle of the field to the left, and then Mark Andrews fakes the block, runs up the sideline. So things of that nature that can kind of play with those two high defenses and force them to rotate and force them to commit to a man and then attack them down the sideline, have a back in the backfield as well, or a receiver down there that is going to occupy that corner so you can high-low the corner. Things of that nature are going to be imperative. They're going to run zone beaters. They're going to be running crossing routes, a lot of crossing routes. I think that with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, the focus is going to be on kind of trying to, combo off Mark Andrews a little bit. We'll see how much Eric Kendricks is kind of in a man match with Andrews running through those crossers. I think that Andrews can still win those. I mean, he was able to beat Jesse Bates. He was able to beat Justin Simmons, running those concepts when the Broncos ran a similar defense. So I'm curious to see how much the Vikings are going to blitz. Not typically a crazy blitzing unit. I think they blitz towards the middle of the pack, but Lamar Jackson hasn't been great against the blitz, particularly on third down. Taken 10 sacks, I think, on third down, which is tied for the second most in the NFL. Haven't run any screens on third down this entire season. Third and 6 or longer, the Ravens have been pretty dysfunctional. I think that not having backs that they really trust a ton on third down has hindered that a little bit. I think Lamar's been holding the ball. I think they've been seeing a lot of blitzes. I think their offensive line hasn't helped. And they haven't been, IDing the fact that these blitzes are going to happen using hard count and then getting someone hot and having real good hot reads. But someone who should be able to help there is Rashad Bateman. He is someone who can work over the middle of the field really effectively. One of his best traits. We've seen him make a couple nice catches as of late on those concepts. Can't really run RPOs or anything on third and long because defenses aren't going to respect the threat of the run a ton. Maybe you can get him once or twice, but running some quick hitters and throwing short of the sticks is something the Ravens need to do. It's kind of the opposite of late era Joe Flacco, where we see Flacco only throwing pretty much short of the sticks and expecting guys to go pick up first downs. Lamar is now hyper aggressive, consistently throwing past the sticks, consistently pushing the ball, consistently holding the ball. And of course, his legs, he wants to be able to extend plays, throw the ball downfield, push the ball. Some explosive plays have come of it, but there's just not consistency there. So coming out of the bye week, that definitely is a huge area that I expect the Ravens coaches to be examining and self-scouting is 3rd and 5 and longer and what they can do. I think that running split back could help. Running those split back concepts, spreading the boundary out, having receivers run very far to the sideline in alignment, and then using a little bit of split back or some of the empty where you have wings effectively. We've seen Latavius Murray and Mark Andrews at times chip and then release and occupy some underneath defenders and flipping them the ball a couple times and making it, 4th and short and getting in 4th and 1, 4th and 2. That's going to allow you to comfortably want to go for it. And I think that also somewhat contributes to the Ravens' mindset on third down, and something that I think is really imperative is consistency and knowing on second down whether you're going to go for it on fourth down if it's fourth and manageable. So being able to play third down and call third down in a sense that sets you up for fourth down, especially if you're towards the middle of the field or on the Vikings side of the field and a little out of field goal range, which Justin Tucker's never whatever. But so those kinds of things, setting up fourth and shorts a little bit more and hoping that guys like Bateman, guys like Andrews, guys like Devontae Freeman, guys like Marquise Brown can run a little bit after the catch. Do you still want to push the ball downfield? Absolutely, but make the Vikings respect your quick passing game a little bit on third down. You'll be able to set them up later in the game for some double moves, some sluggos, some corner posts, things of that nature. So I think that Ravens have done a poor job of setting themselves up for success on third down, and that's an area where they really need to improve, especially those 3rd and 5s or longer, 3rd and 6 or longer, where there's really no threat of the run. I, of course, tweeted out that Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback in the NFL in 3rd and long after the Vikings game, or 4th and long after the Vikings game, or Lions game, pardon me, and hasn't really been the case since. So can't continue taking sacks on third down. It's absolutely killing them. Have to be able to convert there a little more effectively. And with Sammy Watkins coming back, with Rashad Bateman starting to hopefully get a little more comfortable, and we've seen him have a couple big plays here over his first 2 games. You also have Marquise Brown. You also have Mark Andrews. At this point, Devin Duvernay can do things after the catch as well. So setting him up on some, mesh crossers and shallow routes and things of that nature. So Those are all things I would like to see on third down, but will they do them? We shall see. I am not the coach. I am not the smart guy, but those are things that I would love to see overall. But in this game, I do think the Ravens are rested. John Harbaugh has done a great job coming out of the bye. The Vikings had a really tough in-conference game in primetime last week against the Cowboys, have to travel now. Kirk Cousins' quarterback rating drops 13 points outdoors. Like I said earlier, that needs context. What is the average, let's say, DVOA of the defense he's faced outdoors versus indoors? But I think they're a little bit better to play inside. Dalvin Cook is going to be someone to wreck the Ravens if the Vikings win this game, but I don't think that's going to happen. So prediction time for me, I think that the Ravens are going to smoke the Vikings a little bit. I think I can see the Ravens really being able to take advantage of the Vikings cornerbacks. Harrison Smith and Xavier Woods have been really solid and mitigated loss, so to speak, but ultimately I don't think they're going to be able to do so consistently. I think this is a Ravens team that's been able to watch this Vikings team for a while now and is prepared. I think the Ravens are getting more healthy. We'll see if Watkins can play, if Wolf can play, if Boyle can play. It looks like Boyle's probably going to play, so he's going to be a huge factor in helping out in the run game. Now you're going to be able to use Ricard and Andrews and Boyle in some packages, and Boyle presents more as a pass catcher than Tomlinson does. We do need to temper expectations as Boyle is coming back from injury still, has not played yet this year, so rust is probable. But him technically, and if he's comfortable and isn't so rusty, going to be able to do some things, run some concepts where you can use those tight ends to help combo block and work to the second level and go strong and run some boot off of it and things of that nature. So I think the Ravens are going to handle the Vikings pretty good. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Ravens score, say 33, and the Vikings are at like 14 or 16. So I think the Ravens win handedly in this one. I think that this is a Vikings team that is kind of beaten, broken, and damned a little bit coming off of a tough loss, which does make them dangerous. But coming to Baltimore, playing a Ravens team after the bye that could be pretty healthy considering what they've been. The only way this game I think goes really south, and if the Vikings win this one and really handle, is missed tackles defensively overall, and Kirk Cousins doesn't make a mistake the entire day. And then if the Vikings are able to just absolutely abuse whoever's at right tackle for the Ravens. And that's not out of this world of possibilities. So if Everson Griffin's able to go put in the work on Tyree Phillips or Cedric Abouye or whoever's playing over there, if Michael Pierce is able to play, he has practiced once this week and did miss another practice. Sure, he wants to go play against the Ravens, his former team, and can probably suck it up to a certain degree and play through being hurt or injured. So I think this could be a tough game for sure. A lot of people are calling it close, but I do think the Ravens are really able to take care of business here. I'm predicting a pretty big Ravens win, a little bit of a statement game coming out of the bye. And statement game. Everybody always says statement game. It's like the number one buzzword whenever you win a solid game. So I do think that the Ravens are ultimately going to whip some butt on Sunday at 1:00. And I think the Ravens are headed into 6-2 with a Thursday night game in Miami to a team that is having a ton of struggles on their own, that are probably going to be heavy underdogs. Can't count them out. The Ravens luckily did have a bye to kind of prepare for two games at once. And I don't think they're going to overlook this Vikings team that has a ton of talent with their back up against the wall. I don't think that's something that's going to happen, but they are going to have a quick turnaround. So injuries that happen, guys getting hurt in this game could play a huge factor in Miami, but Miami's a team with a rookie quarterback and a poor offense, or not a rookie, but a second-year quarterback and a poor offensive line that has struggled to generate. I think their defense can do some things, but Ravens then travel to Chicago after this, so not to overlook. One game at a time. I know one game at a time, but peeking ahead at the schedule, 3 pretty winnable games at home in Miami. Then you're going to have a little bit of rest after Miami to then go play Chicago Bears and Justin Fields, who loves to hold the ball, has struggled against the blitz, a quarterback that I really like, but has been in a broken offense. So Ravens are in position to really make some noise in November, where they really start to get things going in November, December especially. So sitting at 5-2 right now, got to think the Ravens' worst case is 7-3 realistically. Injuries can change all of that, of course, at any given time. But if they're able to stay relatively healthy, I think 7-3, 8-2 are pretty likely. So this Ravens team is gearing up. Lamar Jackson had a little time to rest, relax, and he's the one who's going to ultimately have to carry them. If they can get Boyle and Watkins with Andrews, Marquise Brown, Bateman, and get Latavius Murray back and able to get Patrick McCary back here maybe in a couple games, then this offense should be in a really, really, really good position to be able to consistently generate points, convert first downs. A lot of that has to do with their play on third down, third medium, third and long. So this Ravens team is exciting. I'll hit some of these comments here as I'm getting ready to close out. So we got OBJ going to Pats or Raiders. Ravens Ron, will this be the Rashad Bateman breakout game? He's been progressing every game. Yes, I think there's going to be a huge game for Rashad Bateman. I am using him in many DFS formats here and might be starting him in fantasy depending on how a certain thing transpires. But Troy T. Cook is a running back who generates yards on his own, probably top 5 in the NFL. If he gets to the second level, he will make you miss. He is just too quick, too effective, has too much vision and spatial awareness. He will make you miss. He is a super dynamic runner, and he's gonna have some good runs. It is inevitable. So mitigating loss. That is the phrase of this game. Mitigate loss. Tackle, throw short of the sticks on third down, have some hot reads on third down, be prepared for the blitz. If you're prepared for the blitz and the Vikings bluff, guess what? You're Lamar Jackson. You can then create a little bit. So mitigating loss, throwing the ball away, not taking sacks, not missing tackles. Those are the names of the game. Dalvin Cook's not going to go through this game forcing 0 missed tackles. He's going to make guys miss. He's going to make, Deshaun Elliott or Chuck Clark or Patrick Queen or Josh Bynes or, somebody's going to miss. But being in position, staying in neutral, being, aggressive in opening steps when you read your keys as a linebacker, doing all that good stuff, and then re-squaring is going to be imperative. You can't let the Vikings line work laterally and open the Red Sea and part the Red Sea for Dalvin Cook, because that's when he is an all-pro running back. In open space with a gap to run, that is when he's an all-pro running back. So not letting him get going is going to be huge. Calais Campbell coming off of a bye, hasn't really been on the injury report, knock on wood there. So guy that could wreck shop for sure in this game. Justin Houston working against a rookie tackle, Odafe Away. Let's see what he can do coming out of this bye. These 2 Ravens first-round picks are going to be huge for the Ravens. Bateman and Odafe Away have the world ahead of them to be able to really make noise coming out of the rookie bye, so to speak. A lot of times rookies kind of propel out of byes. We've seen it time and time again. So they can kind of settle in, self-scout, calm down, relax at home a little bit for the most part. So it's going to be an opportunity for the Ravens to really take a stranglehold of the AFC and the AFC North and kind of compete against really the only team that looks like they're in a better shape than the Ravens is the Bills. They play in a weaker division. They're healthier. They're probably going to be, they're a team that I picked at the beginning of the year to win the AFC at 14-3, I think. So I think the Bills are obviously going to make a run, and that's another spot where maybe OBJ goes. We shall see, but it's going to be a lot of fun here in November, playing 3 teams that you should be able to compete against and ultimately beat. Any given Sunday, it's the NFL. Justin Fields could have his superstar moment. Who knows? But Kirk Cousins, a quarterback, you've got to hit, you've got to rattle, you've got to get pressure on, force a mistake here or there, and it's going to be a tough matchup. If you're one-on-one, if you're going single high, Wink Martindale calls a single high defense. Guess what? Ball's probably going to Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen. So these corners are going to have a tall task. There's not kind of that third horse in the passing game like the Bengals have. So we'll see what happens. The Ravens did a good job on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams a few weeks ago at home, and not that those guys are similar skill sets. They're a little bigger. Keenan Allen can move, but I would give him a little likeness to Adam Thielen. But Mike Williams and Justin Jefferson are very different receivers. Justin Jefferson can shake you and bake you and cook you out. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. A lot of exciting talent in this game, and again, I think the Ravens are going to win this one pretty handedly. Vikings could certainly make some noise, make it a close game. The Ravens have played in far too many close games this year. But that does it for me. Got 45 minutes here. Thank you guys so much. And before I get out of here, I wanted to do a little segment on ZooBoot, our official partner of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. Again, I do have my ZooBoot wallet here. You can find the Baltimore Beatdown podcast wallet. Got our logo there. And use this as your game day wallet. It is aluminum. You can hear that. It's got a little weight to it. It's got this clip here. Money clip on the outside. You're able to clip that to your jeans pockets or your pants pockets as well. You can use our code podcast beatdown for 15% off of any wallet in ZooBoot, not just the Baltimore Beatdown podcast wallet, but you can grab that one as well. It can hold up to 12 cards. Love the finger slip that it has here. Great wallet to take to the bar. Great wallet to take to the bar. Just put like 1 or 2 credit cards in there and your ID, and boom, have it in there. You can feel it when you do the pat down. And a great wallet to take on a run. I really have enjoyed mine so far. Again, you can use the code podcast beatdown for 15% off. You can get these bad boys for the holidays. it is coming up there. So if you've got a special occasion as well, if there's a softball team or a bull roast or something of the sort that you want to have a special occasion, this is a perfect way. You can get a discount when you order multiple in batches. So make sure to go to zooboot.com and use the code podcastbeatdown for 15% off. We appreciate Zooboot and love this freaking wallet, man. This is a great wallet and fully customizable. You can put any design or logo on there and keep up to 12 cards in there comfortably. They slide right out when you use the finger grip. Use these as your game day wallet. Hold your PSL card in there, keep a couple cards in there, and travel in style, travel compact, travel with being able to feel that pat down that you do ultimately. And thanks again to Zooboot for setting up the Baltimore Beatdown podcast wallet, baby. Look at that thing. That thing's cool. Got the little Ravens logo, kind of our own little Raven on there. Fine podcast, Baltimore Beatdown podcast. 15% off at zooboot.com with the code podcast beatdown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will say both of our outros. See ya and arrivederci.